I have a stone for this generation. I have the stone for this generation. That stone is my son. That stone is the rock Christ Jesus. And that stone shall be given to the Davids of this generation. And they shall bring down the force of hell that is crying from Russia, from Syria, from Iran, from all over the world. Crying, give us blood, give us blood, give us blood, give us blood. But the Spirit says, no, there shall be no world war yet. For I am yet to show you the manifestation of a rock in the hand of a generation that shall bring down the voice of hell. This is my will. Look for it, for it is coming, says the Spirit of God.
And Vaughn, another major headline we're watching, President Trump on social media announced that he has now ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be repositioned after what he called a threat from Russia. What more do you know about that?
Right, Peter. The apparent movements of these 2 submarines are unclear at this hour, but the president's order came in response to former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev's threat that the U.S., by declaring that Russia had a deadline to come to the negotiating table and end its war against Ukraine, amounted to a step towards war with the U.S. in itself. And the president last night on his way here to New Jersey suggesting that this was a moment here when he heard the word nuclear that caught his attention and that it entered Russia into, quote, very dangerous territory. Now, it is not clear here this morning whether these are nuclear ships or whether they are ships that are carrying nuclear weapons toward the region near Russia.
On Russia, Mr. President, can you say, have those nuclear submarines been deployed yet to face Russia?
I've already put out a statement, and the answer is they are in the region, yeah, where they have to be.
Estonia has begun installing gates and barriers at the Narva border crossing with Russia. Estonian broadcaster ERR confirmed the security build-up as a move to control vehicle access and strengthen border protection.
Estonia is building a wall of war, and Russia is the reason. While the world watches Ukraine, Estonia is preparing for what could come next. Alongside Latvia and Lithuania, it's launching the Baltic Defense Line, a sweeping, multi-country project to turn their shared borders with Russia and Belarus into one giant military barricade. We're talking 600 concrete bunkers, fortified supply points, and layered defenses stretching across NATO's eastern edge. It's not a bluff, it's a signal. If Russia tries to roll west, it won't be easy or cheap.
And the Fourth Reich
Et la quatrième Reich
shall be overcome.
sera vaincu,
For the hatred for the Jewish people
car la haine contre les Juifs
and the people of Christ
et contre le peuple de Dieu
is causing demonic rage.
est en train de provoquer une rage
But
démoniaque.
God,
Mais Dieu,
but God
mais Dieu
has made a declaration.
a fait une déclaration,
One word
une
out of
parole,
the mouth of these people,
une parole qui sort de son peuple.
and the battle shall be won.
To free the hostages and destroy Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to conquer the entire Gaza Strip.
That's right. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee tells CBN News that people should be praying for Israel and for the safe return of the hostages. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Monday, Netanyahu announced he will convene his cabinet to give instruction to defeat Hamas and free the hostages.
We must continue to stand together and fight together to achieve the war goals we have set, all of them. The defeat of the enemy, the release of our hostages, and the assurance that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel. Later this week, I will convene the cabinet to instruct the IDF on how to achieve these 3 goals, all of them, without exception.
Those 3 goals come in the midst of a battle between the U.S., Israel, and Hamas over who controls getting food to the people of Gaza. Friday, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee accompanied Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff to visit the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to report on the U.S. Israeli-backed effort that's provided more than 100 million meals to hungry Gazans in the past 2 months.
The most important thing I saw was the efficiency of the GHF operation, which, by the way, Hamas hates. They said it was their second most important thing to get rid of if they're going to have a deal. to let the hostages go. What does that tell you? It's working.
Huckabee also talked to some of the people at the distribution site.
They don't want Hamas there anymore. They're sick of them. But they're also have no mood to have the PLO or Fatah or one of the other Palestinian organizations run Gaza in the future.
Huckabee's comments come after Hamas released video of emaciated Israeli hostage Eviatar David digging what he feared would be his own grave.
People want to see starvation in Gaza. Look at the hostages. That's who's being starved. And look how well fed the Hamas members appear to be.
Huckabee also called out the international media for its reporting on what's happening inside Gaza.
The coverage has been deplorable. And the sad part is most of the information actually comes from Hamas. When they say that IDF soldiers are just mass shooting of innocent people coming to the feeding sites, that's a lie. And the sad part is the international media just buys it hook, line, and sinker, reports it as truth, and they're perpetuating one of the biggest lies in all of history.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Analysis. Today, as you can see, and as you've just seen, we have a few prophecies to cover again. Because as we've moved forward in time, more and more of these prophecies are coming to pass, and we're really seeing the depth in what was prophesied. And I can really understand why my dad saw what he saw, because if one were able to look into the future from the past, especially as far back as he saw these things, you certainly would have seen this. And so Christie Desfontaine is going to join me today, and we're going to unpack some of this. Christie, are you there?
I'm here indeed. Hello.
There she is. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's so lovely to see you today.
It's so nice to see you.
Thank you for joining me, Christie.
Thank you.
And so, Christie, let's start with the nuclear standoff.
You know...
that was a little bit, honestly, it was a surprise.
It is, but Donné, I think there's something to be said for a show of strength, which is some of what your dad actually prophesied. But there's a headline that I want to read here from Reuters, which is, Trump orders nuclear submarines moved after Russian provocative statements. And there's a quote here. Based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Now, I think that it's really important that President Trump here is talking about how words can carry a lot more meaning than just words. And we're seeing that with the Israel crisis. We're seeing that in so many areas. And I do think, Donné, I respect the fact that his actions are sending a very clear message, which is that America's not going to be intimidated and Putin's threats are not going to deter peace efforts in the Ukraine. And really, Trump is, talk about spinning plates. It's like this man is having to juggle backwards on a tightrope suspended in the air over a pit of crocodiles and snakes, while at the same time being blindfolded. That's what it feels like he's having to navigate. While at the same time, half of America fighting against him. It's a whole thing. But we will, I think, both agree, and obviously we're going to get into the prophecies of your dad's, but really it is quite something that he's sending a clear message. That's not what we've had from previous administrations.
Absolutely, it's not. Yeah, it's absolutely not what we've had, and I'm just so grateful that Donald Trump is in there dealing with like this, because who knows what the situation was there with Medvedev, but that was a very foolish thing for him to say. So he either was sitting drinking vodka and got a little tipsy and tweeted something he shouldn't have.
Angry tweets.
In which case he might end up meeting his end, falling out of a building.
Accidentally.
A common cause of death in Russia.
Very common cause of death. Lots of accidents.
But
gravity is natural.
The other thing that could... But the other thing that could be happening is that he could be saying these things on behalf of Putin, subtly.
Yes.
And Putin is very, very sneaky. We've seen since Trump came into office, Trump sort of felt like he had a good rapport with Putin and like he could get that situation under control easily, and soon discovered that Putin would say one thing on the phone and then do another thing.
Absolutely.
And I actually heard that what happened was he had spoken to Putin, and when he saw Melania, he said, well, I had a good conversation with Putin today. She said, well, he's bombing everybody, so you might want to deal with this. So one thing we do know about Trump is that his biggest concern has been over nuclear war. You see, whenever there's a threat of nuclear war or anything like that, he steps in immediately. We saw it earlier this year between India and Pakistan. When that started to erupt, he stepped in immediately. So one thing we know about Trump is he's not going to, under any circumstances, going to tolerate that. We saw it in Iran a couple of months ago, where he actually sent U.S. military in the bunker busters and took out their nuclear program. So we know that Trump will not tolerate that, and I was very glad to see that as soon as he saw the statement from Medvedev, he put his response on social media and publicly, and then he sent in the nuclear submarines. And so, of course, people get a little bit nervous, but we heard that prophecy in the beginning, which was my dad in August. Funnily enough, it's August now, but in August of 2013, I think it was, and he said, you're going to hear them, give us blood, give us blood, give us blood, but there will be no world war yet, because you're yet to see the manifestation of a rock in the hand of a generation. Bless you. And so that is what is giving me comfort, because it makes you nervous when you see the former what is he, a president or prime minister of Russia? I always get that confused. Medvedev, because Medvedev was there between
I believe he was the
Putin's
prime
terms.
minister.
Putin was there, prime minister.
I believe so.
And so, you hear a Russian leader, anyone really, saying something like that, and then you see Trump respond with nuclear submarines. You're hearing nuclear, you're hearing war, and us regular people, we hear that, we don't know the details of things, and it does make you nervous, because you start to think, we thought maybe Trump was going to be able to take care of this quickly. Of course, here at the House of Destiny, anybody following Kim Clement's prophecies, we knew that Putin was going to cause trouble.
Of course.
And we've been telling people this for years and years.
This is not a surprise.
And so, it wasn't a surprise to us.
No.
And if you've been watching us for years, any of our warriors out there, you know this as well. So the comfort for me is the no world war yet, because we're yet to see how God handles this. And we do have some clues in regards to that, especially when we get to the Estonia part, which is another thing we've been telling people, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed.
And actually, why don't we play that? We have it from March 20th, 2014. Very good. So let's have a look at that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, Estonia, you shall be the troublemaker. You shall rattle Putin, who claims himself as a Tsar, to bring back a system of control and pain and suppression. I laughed at you, but all the nations stand before me now without intelligence, without understanding. They know nothing. Estonia! Estonia! Full of light. The little one that shall rattle the big one. The little nation that will bring the stone to the head of Goliath. I prophesy life, light, victory, salvation. Your kingdom come. Your kingdom come. Your kingdom come. Your kingdom come.
Wow, powerful. And the message is very clear now. You know, for years it was, what is this Estonia thing? I didn't even know Estonia existed.
It's little.
Until, yeah. And so here we see, first of all, some very interesting things I don't want to forget. Putin, who claims himself as a czar. And you see he's moved into Ukraine, and now you see the reaction of Estonia and the nearby countries, Poland there. My dad's naming these countries. And the response there. So now that we see that, I love how, and by the way, we actually played you guys 2 dates. I said March 20th when we started playing it, but I forgot we actually had 2.
Yes.
The second date was 29th.
Yes.
So this was in 2014, the 20th and then the 29th. So in that time period, God was showing him a lot.
Yes.
And you notice that in the other prophecy from 2013 that we saw from the beginning of no world war yet, you're yet to see the manifestation of a rock in the hand of a generation. Here he's talking about the stone to the head of Goliath. So the recurring theme again and again and again for this season of all the things my dad prophesied, the theme of David and Goliath comes again and again and again.
Yes, it does.
And Estonia, from March 29th of 2014, the little one shall rattle the big one, the little nation that will bring the stone to the head of Goliath. And we saw what Estonia is actually doing right now to resist Putin, because like I said, Putin as a czar, my dad's saying, he's expanding and pushing. And there is so much deception that I think of the spiderweb prophecy about Putin now as I'm sitting here, and how it will take a servant's broom to sweep up all the webs that he's woven. And it is beginning to become evident. You know, there were people on the right and on the conservative side for a long time.
Oh, that was the thing.
They've been saying, oh, Putin and Trump are buddies and they're working together to take down the deep state.
No.
And I have had so many arguments with so many people saying no. And the only reason I knew isn't because I'm some kind of clever figuring it out, it's because of these prophecies. I knew what my dad had prophesied about Putin for years. You can go back to 2009, and you know this, Christie.
I do.
In Seattle, Washington, when he was talking about Russia then, and the spider webs and the webs. And so we are beginning to actually see it come out, and the truth is emerging. And again and again, this truth is sometimes it certainly surprised me, sometimes the way the prophecies have come about. But it is very comforting when you do hear nuclear, submarines, threats, you get worried. And so it comforts me to know that, that it's not at this time going, it will eventually, I'm sure, but at this time it is not going to escalate into that kind of a situation. And it is because Trump is there. And so that's what I have to say about those things for right now.
Now, speaking still, well, just a headline here, Donné, speaking about this, you know, the source is the Kiev Independent, and it says, Russia deploys additional electronic warfare systems near the Estonian border. And then this quote again from the Kiev Independent says, Russia has moved additional electronic warfare equipment close to its border with Estonia. The systems are designed to jam communications, disrupt radar systems, and assert control over the electromagnetic spectrum, which is really, really crazy. And there's another headline here that's coming from United 24 Media. Estonia erects border fortifications as tensions with Russia mount. And we see here, last week authorities installed heavy metal gates on the Estonian side of the bridge linking Estonia and Russia. Work is also in progress to deploy retractable metal barriers which can fully block vehicle movement both into and out of the checkpoint when necessary. Now, going back to what your dad said about the little one, you know, Donné, Estonia is this tiny little country that borders Russia, and Russia definitely, I mean, it is the big one. Whether you think of Ezekiel 38, whatever scripture you want to think of, it's this massive force. I mean, we're talking about a nation that spans 11 time zones, and something crazy that a lot of people don't know is that the border, or not the border, but the barrier between Russia and America at its shortest point is only about 3 miles, because the very end of the Russian, that area of Russia towards Alaska, there's an area that freezes over completely, and it can actually be reached by foot. You will probably freeze and lose your feet, but if you were actually to have the technology available, we're talking about something that's minute in between the two. So really, Russia is this giant, it is the big one, but your dad was prophesying and seeing this thing about Estonia being the little one. And even as we see this, you just have this picture of this tiny little nation putting up these sort of fortifications, and everyone right now in Europe is freaking out about Russia. And one of my best friends is, she does K-pop writing, and she was in Sweden not that long ago. They were handing out flyers about preparedness for war if Russia was to start. And funnily enough, a lot of the places they were telling people they'd need to go to are in the old music studios, because they were built in sort of bunkers and underground. And so all around Europe, even though the West, and we've had this problem on the right with people saying, oh, well, Russia's the good guy. No, even in Europe, which is being taken over by the Islamists, they're going, there's a problem here, but Estonia. And this is something we're watching.
And, it really is a testament to the prophetic gift of my dad, because there's no way, unless God revealed it to him, that he could have seen. You can't, 11, 12 years ago, guess something like that.
Never.
And so it is truly remarkable what God revealed to him. But it also helps us in a very difficult time, not only as a Christian, but as an American and in America, or a Westerner, to be able to gauge the situation, because the technology that we have, even with AI now, it's very difficult to discern the truth. So what we have with the technology is the ability to share the truth very easily, but it also enables lies to be easily spread. And so it requires of us discernment. And, I know that's been a difficulty for a lot of people. And of course, you have the hybrid kind of warfare. You have, General Flynn calls it 5th generational warfare, where, it's not just with tanks and bombs and that kind of war, that's there, but there's also, with the technology, the warfare that's coming along. And it's not even we haven't even started on the spiritual warfare element of this. So there's many, many layers to the environment that we're in right now. And I am still, like I said, very comforted by the prophecies, especially no world war yet. And I remember on February 22nd, 2014, where I think that was when it was, where Dad was, I think it was one of the first times he prophesied about Estonia. And he was talking about Ukraine and Estonia. And he shouted, Estonia, you shall be the one to rattle Putin. No, that was the one we just watched. It was February 26th, I'm trying to remember, but it's important. He said, they'll say, you're the troublemakers. Mm. And we have said that of not so much Estonia, but definitely of Ukraine. Zelensky's ties with the World Economic Forum and his history, that's a legitimate concern. But certainly these nations, and definitely Ukraine, has been called the troublemaker. And so he even got that right. And I think it's quite amazing even that my dad that God sent my dad to Ukraine. Mm. And so we continue to watch this and we pray for all of them, because the fact of the matter is Russia is losing more people than Ukraine. And so we have to pray for the citizens of all of these countries who are not in control of, and especially a communist country. They're not going to have much of a say, certainly not as much as we have in the West. And I know that Putin has promoted a lot of nationalism amongst the Russians. So he's in a difficult position right now, which is also dangerous, because now he cannot lose this war, because he's pumped up the Russian people so much to support Russia and to support the cause, and they've lost so many of their sons and daughters and their family to this war. And if he doesn't win it, there's more pressure, which makes him more dangerous. So we need to keep praying over that situation. But I want to move over now to Israel and Hamas.
Yes.
And the Fourth Reich.
Yes.
Which is, for years I wasn't quite sure. I knew Islam had to do with it, but I didn't realize until October 7th where that Fourth Reich was. I was more focused on World Economic Forum during... because of the secular humanism side of it and what he prophesied about that.
Crazy.
So it is part of it. But the Fourth Reich is undoubtedly the Islamic regime, and even to say the 12er eschatology.
Yes.
Is it right to call it an eschatology?
It is an eschatology.
The 12er eschatology.
Yeah, it's a belief in the end times and the plans for the end times. So yes, 100%, that is correct.
Right.
Now,
so that's why you'll see, like, Saudi Arabia isn't like Iran, even though they're all Muslim.
Yes.
And that doesn't make Saudi Arabia like the good guy or anything, but they're not nuts.
They're not as
like the Iranian regime.
Money...
And the Iranian regime funds.
Well, money is the focus for Saudi Arabia, whereas bringing global catastrophe to summons the return of the 12th Imam is the focus for Iran. And I'm talking again about the leadership, not the people. But that's what we're dealing with here. But speaking of this, Donné, Israel, Hamas, all this, there's a headline here that I'd like to read before we get into, video footage, etc. But it says this from the Associated Press. A father's agony over video of his emaciated son, a hostage in Gaza, adds pressure for a ceasefire. Now, the father of the hostage in the video, Braslavsky, said, now in the last video, he looks completely turned off, as if he's waiting for death. His eyes are turned off. He probably doesn't want to endure the suffering anymore, which is obviously tragic and horrific. And then there's another headline here that I'd like to read from the Times of Israel. Prime Minister said seeking decisive military victory in Gaza, putting hostage families on edge. Now, a quote here from Bibi Netanyahu says, I understand exactly what Hamas wants, he said in a video released by his office. It doesn't want a deal, it wants to break us. With these horrifying videos, with the false horror propaganda, it spreads across the world, but we will not break, Netanyahu said. I am filled with even greater determination to free our captive sons, to eliminate Hamas, and to ensure that Gaza will never again pose a threat to Israel. And Donné, we mentioned this last night on our live prayer meeting, Gathering of the Dangerous, but I said then, I do not think there is a person on the earth right now that has a harder job than Bibi Netanyahu. I do not think there is a more difficult position in government or in anywhere else than the man who is currently in that position. I do think Bibi Netanyahu has got the most difficult job, and I'm going to encourage everybody right now to watch Israel Update on Friday. Dubi and I really got stuck into this about the propaganda war and why Israel's losing the PR battle, and really encouraging us as Christians to remain firm, to fight on carrying Kim's legacy of standing with Israel no matter what, and not allowing ourselves to be blinded and deceived by the spirit of the world that is blinding even the elite, that is blinding and somehow managing to unite the left and the right in their hatred of Israel. But I could rant on about this forever, Donné. I know there's something that you wanted to speak about, the horrifying video that you saw, I know, on X.
Well, listen, it absolutely broke me when I saw them. And that's why I said that in the beginning of my dad seeing, if he could look into the future, and maybe he saw them, is what I imagine. Because my dad saw a lot of images. I know this from asking him over the years how it worked. And he would see flashes of images. And can you imagine him seeing, perhaps he saw some of these images that we've seen this past week as Hamas released those videos. And when you look at them, it looks like someone out of the Holocaust.
Yes, it does.
World War II.
Yes, that is
out
what it looks like.
One of Hitler's concentration camps. I was so shocked, and again, it took me back to 2012 when my father sent me to Auschwitz, and I learned so much about it, and it just seemed impossible that anything like that could happen.
But here we are.
But let me tell you something. Israel gave them that land. They evacuated Gaza in 2005 all the Jews, even their dead. They took them out of the land and gave it to the Palestinians. And how many billions of dollars were given to them
Donné,
that they could have used to build a country, to make it nice. And instead of doing that, their hatred, they stole that money. Let me tell you something. The Palestinian leaders' children live very nicely. They are not starving.
Donné,
and they are not even there.
Yasser Arafat's daughter's got $8 billion.
Yes. That's the money that was supposed to be used to build up that region. They could have done something with it, but instead they dug down under the ground a tunnel system that is, it's enormous. All that money they spent. And you know what? Not to mention how much has come out about how they, and this is the UN and the media, joining with Hamas and instructing their journalists to report what Hamas says. No, it's Israel's fault. Always blame Israel, is what they're saying.
Yes.
And so, of course, my dad saw Fourth Reich.
Yes.
Of course, if he's looking and God's showing him images of this moment right now, of this past week alone, this is what he saw. And so, what's comforting to me is that he saw that the Fourth Reich would fall.
Me too.
He said it would rise and that it would fall.
Yes.
And he said it from first the Netherlands and then from Paris.
Yes.
And that was one of the places he sent me to when he sent me to Auschwitz on that trip. I went to Poland and Berlin in Germany, and he sent me to Paris, and he sent me to London. And in Paris, I went to that very church that he prophesied the Fourth Reich from. It was 2 years later. So he prophesied that in 2010, sent me there in 2012. And that is where I went when I went on that trip, and I went to that church. That church is very important in Paris. And, you know, since my dad passed away, actually, there's some of their worship leaders did a beautiful French rendition of one of my father's songs. They're just lovely people. But aside from that, God has placed them there. And God has put Christians in strategic places in all of these
It's a remnant
that we're seeing in the news.
Always a remnant.
In Ukraine, yes. In Ukraine, they're there. My father interviewed them, prophesying, spirit-filled, worshiping Christians in Ukraine. So all you hear about in Ukraine is, oh, well, there's the Nazis that are there. And yes, that is there. And there are things there that haven't been taken care of. And the fall of the Soviet Union and what happened in these countries. And it's so important to know the history. You know, a lot of these young people that are shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, don't understand that Palestine was given, they were given that land. And they chose, they did this in, what it was, 2005, 2006, they were shooting rockets, and it has been nonstop attacks on Israel. And a campaign across the globe of propaganda to pit the world against the Jews and blame them for everything. And when you really think about the argument, you know, people have conspiracy theories. I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, I was even looking, I'd never heard of the Khazarian Mafia. And I said, well, what is this Khazarian Mafia? Turns out it was nothing. And I remember you calling me and saying, you know, that's really nothing. And I really discovered that on my own, Christie. I went and did research, and it went to nothing. But they'll take little mysteries and little things that have questions, and then they build it up, and they say propaganda. They don't tell you certain things, and it is insane.
It's the propaganda machine.
And so the ones who are most vulnerable are the young people.
Yes.
Who haven't lived through. I remember the fall, the Berlin Wall. I remember, I was a little girl, but I remember it. I was alive. You know, I didn't know, for instance, about Iran and what happened with the Iranian regime until much later. Growing up, I never knew anything. I just assumed Iran was a Muslim country. I didn't know. And so even in my own life, because it happened before I was paying attention and seeing things in the news, so the young people are very vulnerable, and they're the ones shouting to the river, to the sea, and they don't know what river or what sea.
They don't know what they're talking about.
They don't understand. They're calling for the genocide and murder of an entire nation of people who are a teeny tiny population of the world. Let me tell you, if they run the world, they're not doing a very good job of it.
Agreed.
And I could go on and on about this, but it really is, it's all tied into what my dad prophesied
Yes.
and what he saw. And so again, the comfort we have in this is that he saw it fall. Actually, we have him in Paris in 2010. So why don't we just look at that?
Let's look at
I
that.
went to this church, everybody. 2 years later, he sent me to this church. And this is what he saw there.
But Europe
Mais en Europe,
will be affected
l'Europe sera affectée.
in the same way that Daniel was praying.
Et de la même façon que Daniel a prié,
There was a war in the heavenlies.
il y a eu une guerre dans les lieux célestes.
Prince of Persia.
Et le prince de la Perse.
There was a battle going on.
Il y a eu une bataille qui a été.
As there is today.
Comme il y a aujourd'hui.
And France
Et la France
shall join forces
va joindre ses forces
with Great Britain
avec la Grande-Bretagne
and some other nations.
et avec d'autres nations.
There will be a war.
Et il y aura une guerre.
It shall be a short war.
Une guerre courte.
Hear me, please.
Écoutez-moi bien.
This war,
cette guerre,
and I'm not talking about a spiritual war.
Et là, je ne parle pas d'une guerre spirituelle.
A war will take place.
Il y aura une guerre.
It shall be short-lived.
Une guerre très courte.
Because as France
Parce que comme la France
destroyed the power
a détruit le pouvoir
of invasion
de l'envahisseur
from the Middle East
et des envahisseurs du Moyen-Orient
in the 7th century,
dans le 7e siècle,
so shall it rise up
alors la France se lèvera
and destroy the invading forces
et elle va détruire aussi des forces qui
from
vont
the beast of the
envahir,
east,
qui viendront de l'Est.
and they will overcome
Et nous allons vaincre.
an agreement
Et nous allons vaincre un accord
between Russia
entre la Russie
and Iran.
et l'Iran.
And they will only win
Et nous allons seulement vaincre
because I placed this house
parce que j'ai placé une maison
on the soil of France,
sur le sol de la France.
and because of your words,
Et à cause de vos paroles,
the battle shall be won in the
la
heavenlies,
bataille sera gagnée dans les lieux
says
célestes
the Lord.
de l'Éternel.
So, Kim, we don't want the war. Too bad.
Ah, je ne veux pas faire la guerre. Tant pis.
There shall be. Now, don't get frightened.
Il y aura. Maintenant, n'ayez pas peur.
We have an enemy that wants to invade.
Nous avons un ennemi qui voudrait bien envahir
Take Christ out of Europe.
afin d'enlever Christ de l'Europe.
Sitting on the front row here
Ici, dans la rangée de devant,
is a pastor from the Netherlands
nous avons ici un pasteur de la Hollande
and a pastor from England.
et un pasteur de l'Angleterre.
They represent the soil
Ils représentent le sol,
and the territories.
la terre,
God is going to pour out His Spirit.
où Dieu veut répandre de son esprit.
Germany will be included.
L'Allemagne sera inclus,
Italy.
l'Italie.
There shall be a great move of the Spirit.
Il y aura un grand mouvement de l'esprit.
It is literally the next Reformation
C'est littéralement la prochaine réforme
that will come about
qui va arriver
because of reconciliation.
à cause de la réconciliation.
And the Fourth Reich
Et la 4e Reich
shall be overcome.
sera vaincue.
For the hatred for the Jewish people
Car la haine contre les Juifs
and the people of Christ
et contre le peuple de Dieu
is causing demonic rage.
est en train de provoquer une rage
But
démoniaque.
God,
Mais Dieu
has made a declaration.
a fait une déclaration.
One word
Une
out of the
parole.
mouth of these people.
Une parole qui sort de son peuple.
And the battle shall be won.
Et la bataille sera gagnée.
That word
Cette parole,
is Yeshua.
c'est Yeshua.
Jesus.
Jésus.
Jesus.
Jésus.
Say His name.
Dites son nom.
Say His name.
Dites son nom. We so clearly here can see that Kim was really calling for European reformation and divine strategy in overcoming the spiritual beast of the East. And I don't know, Donné, whatever it is that you're thinking here, but it's just...
So many things. Okay, Christie, I've been following this prophecy for so many years, just waiting for this. And I kept thinking, this is it, and it wasn't. Now, No, I'm blown away. Because you notice he talks about the Fourth Reich, the beast of the East, and demonic rage.
Yes.
And if you look at the behavior...
It's demonic rage.
People in the West, like you look at the Candace Owens and the Tucker Carlsons, people who are just frothing at the mouth to blame the Jews for everything. And then think about what happened right before Hamas released the videos of the hostages. Is Macron and Starmer, President of France and of England, come out and they say, well, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state, which emboldened Hamas even more. And so what we see has not occurred yet, what was prophesied. We are not quite there yet. Because what they're doing in these countries is censoring Christians, arresting Christians. If people are assaulting Christians, they turn their head. Nobody can say a thing against Islam. So how key is it that he said, for the battle to be won, all you need is the name of Jesus. And so I believe that it's going to have to get to a certain point in some of these European countries. And, you know, Trump's meeting with Starmer was good last couple of weeks ago when he went there to Scotland. I think it was Scotland, and he met Starmer at his house, which I thought was great. But it certainly is evident, the spiritual warfare. And in that prophecy from France, it also is again, because the call for Jesus, the Reformation, the reconciliation, these are things that we can look toward and pray toward. And so this is what prophetic prayer and spiritual warfare is all about. Because, again, he stresses the importance of that church in Paris. And it's God's people who are in these places, who have Christ as their foundation, as their rock, that will save these nations against this madness. And this is the picture that I'm seeing, this beast of the East. My father was prophesying about the beast of the East from the early 90s. You know, God began to show him those things before people were filming my dad or had paid attention to him. He was prophesying these things already. God was revealing them to him. And over the years, it became fuller and fuller and fuller, that picture, until God took my dad. And so now we sit with these prophecies, and it is so important for us to not just to know the stuff. We have to be praying about this. That's why we've got Gathering of the Dangerous. We've got Gathering of the Dangerous so that we can pray for one another and support one another. And that's the prayer meeting we started. For anybody who doesn't know, prayer meeting we started every Tuesday night. It's live. We're taking prayer requests. We pray for one another, but we pray for our nations. And people from all over the world join us. And it's so important that we are doing that as Christians, that we are uniting. We can utilize this technology for good. We see what countries like Russia and people like Putin are doing with the technology for evil, Hamas as well, Iran and these Islamic lunatics. But we can also do that. We can also use these tools and use them for good. And that's what we're doing here at the House of Destiny, right, Christie?
It really is. And I just want to encourage everybody, you know, right now is a time for us to stand with the prophetic word, to sow into Israel, to sow into the global awakening. And we are in a global spiritual battle right now. When we look at Russia, Hamas, the rise of the Fourth Reich, all of these things that Kim Clement saw so clearly so many years ago, he saw the darkness rising, but he also saw a generation that would rise and say the name of Jesus. And so I'm encouraging you today to sow, to give into the future that Kim saw, which is our current present, and know that we're standing with the prophetic word. And we do that whether you want to do the $5 in your face offering, whatever it is that you want to do. There's so many different ways for you to give. We've got a new way for you to give. We've got so many different things going on. And I'm encouraging you to activate your faith by choosing with joy in your heart to sow a seed into the future and to sow a seed into what it is that God was showing Kim Clement, which is completely undeniable. And this is the home of his ministry. This is where we continue his legacy, and we're unable to do it without you. So I'm encouraging you to do that today.
Yes, and just so everybody knows, we do have a new way to give. And so what we've done is we've streamlined this process. We've upgraded. We needed, it was time for an upgrade. It is more secure. It is going to be easier for you. So if you're if you normally give to us, then you're used to a certain system. It might look a little different. Do not be alarmed. It's better. It's more secure. And also, you might be able to, it's optional, but you can also cover the small processing fees. That it's small. But it would be a huge help to us if you could do that. But either way, we have to keep moving forward in time. And as technology improves, we can also improve everything. And so we're really going through all of these systems and things that we use and really tightening things up. It's saving money so that we can utilize it better. And all the process now is more secure for you as well as easier. And so just wanted to let you guys know that if you're giving an offering today and you're a usual giver, don't be alarmed if it looks a little different. It's better. And so just wanted to say that too, just so nobody looks at it and says, hey, something's different. Is this okay? It is okay. It's supposed to be different, and we're very excited about it. And so thank you so much to everybody who supports us, because your support has given us the ability to keep sharing these prophecies. These prophecies have helped so much over the years. It helped so much during the Biden years and after the 2020 election and all through COVID and Trump getting elected for that second term, which seemed impossible. And we knew it was prophesied and it carried. I hear from thousands of people about how much these prophecies have helped them. It's even helped the Trump family. I went on the Reawaken America tour and got to know Eric Trump, and we know 1,000% for sure that Trump has seen these prophecies, and it really has helped. And so by supporting us, you've helped us help the president and the leaders and the people that God has put into position. And so it's no small thing, and it really means something. And so we really are grateful to you for being obedient. And so, wow, Christie, what a day. I'm so excited.
I know
about this. I'm apprehensive. I'm sad because I see these hostages, and it's actually terrifying to have to go through something. I cannot imagine being in a tunnel like that and starving like that. And it's just unbearable. I can't imagine being the parents.
It's horrifying.
Of these and the family. I heard David. What's his first name? I cannot pronounce it. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he was in the tunnel digging his own grave.
Yes.
And I saw his brother speaking about this the other day, and I just wept, Christie. I can't stand it. And so, it's something that we need to do when we feel helpless. Like, obviously, I'm sitting here in Tennessee. I can't do anything, but I can pray.
Yeah.
And we can pray, and we can stand on these prophetic words. And we can battle the spiritual warfare, because that is our area. So you are not anybody who feels like I feel helpless. I know a lot of you do too, watching today. But we're not helpless because we understand spiritual warfare here at the House of Destiny, and the power that is in us to stomp on the devil's head and stop him. And God has given us through these prophecies something very, very special, and we're a prophetic army of people, and this is a spiritual battle as well as physical. And so for those of us who can't physically go somewhere and do something, we can support one another, we can support the people who are doing something, and we can battle in this spiritual war. And so I think it'd be good for us to close with prayer today, and with that in mind.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Join with us. Join your faith with us. Father, we thank you firstly for what it is that you gave us in the words of Kim Clement, the promises and the prophetic promises that you gave through him to us. We're asking you for protection over America, over Israel, and over the leaders. We're asking you for an exposure of darkness and intelligence agencies and governments. We're trusting you that great awakening that Kim saw in Europe, especially France, Germany, the UK, Italy, we're asking and trusting that we will see that come to fruition fruition and that we will see that come to life. We're asking for strength and boldness in the church to rise and proclaim the truth, to proclaim the name of Christ. And we're asking for the hostages in Gaza, those Jewish hostages. Would you have mercy on them? Would you protect them? Would you bring healing to their families? We're trusting that no weapon formed against us as your body, against Israel as your people, would prosper. We're asking for a spirit of unity and victory that would rise and supersede above the Fourth Reich and rise above the spirit of Antichrist. We're trusting that your will would be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we're asking too that this media war that Israel is losing, that you would do a miracle and that you would turn it around, that you would cause truth to be shouted from the mountaintops, that you would cause darkness to be exposed and blindness to be lifted off of every eye. And I particularly pray for your church today, that where it feels like a rebooting of replacement theology and anti-Semitism, I pray that you would barrel straight into that and strip those lies away, and that they would see the truth for what it is, that Israel is your chosen people and nation, that the Jews are yours, and that it is our responsibility to stand with them. And we're asking, God, that you would find us as your remnant on the earth today, that we would not be like the silent majority of Nazi Germany who became irrelevant because they stood by and did nothing, but instead that you would find us as those on our knees, those that are praying and standing in the gap on behalf of the people, building the wall, trusting for your salvation and redemption. And we thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Christie. My goodness. So again, I just feel so much better. I love it when you pray. I know everybody else is probably feeling this too. It's very powerful what's going on. You know, sometimes when you're in the moment, especially us, we get so caught up in details of things. But the truth is, it is remarkable what God is doing. And, you know, there's so much negative we're seeing, but God is moving. And he protects us. And so, you know, to all of you who are praying with us and supporting us and standing with us, we thank you for that. And that is the most important thing right now, is that we hold one another up through this time. And, you know, those of you who are Vault partners, extra special thank you to you, because you've given us the ability to digitize so much footage of my dad that we couldn't even get access to. And it's thanks to your partnership with us that we're able to do that. And so, you know, anybody who wants to join the Vault partnership, it's $7 or more a month. There's so much in there. We've upgraded the prophecy database. There you can easily access just the prophecy, or click a link and watch the whole original broadcast. We've got the School of the Prophets in there, and just stuff you can't get anywhere else. And so it's a really special place we've created for those who just feel that they want to continue to support us and do a little extra. And so if you're feeling that you want to do that today, the information is there for you. And I encourage you to join us with that. And just remember that God has not forgotten us. And he has not forgotten his people or Israel or his promises. And so, you know, as he's shaking and exposing and rebuilding, we have these promises to move toward, like a light on a hill. And we're just moving towards that. And so I just want to thank everybody again for standing with us, and Christie for joining me today. As always, it's been excellent. Don't miss anything that's going on at the House of Destiny this week, especially not Israel Update right now, because Doobie is there in Israel and he's giving us updates and helping us understand things, as well as Christie. It is a really important thing that we pay attention to that right now and continue to support Israel as well. And so make sure you don't miss Israel Update every Friday at the House of Destiny Network. And of course, every day of the week we have so much to share with you. Code Breakers Live, Prophetic Rewind, Real Life, Real Faith. Charlie even comes on, and Pastor Fa. We're praying together every Tuesday. And so we really are doing everything that we can. And together, we are a special remnant of prophetic warriors. And so I thank you again for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Hello, friends. I'm Donné Clement Petruska, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.